All right. Well, this is Brian Johnson with Finance and Commerce, and I'm pleased to be joined by Matt Anfang, Executive Director of the Minnesota Commercial Association of Real Estate slash Realtors, also known as MNCAR. For more than 25 years, Anfang has held multiple leadership roles in the commercial real estate market, most recently as Executive Director of MNCAR, the preeminent commercial real estate brokerage organization in Minnesota. MNCAR provides its 1,300 plus members with high quality information and research and leadership on industry issues and other services. Matt recently announced plans to retire from MNCAR in June 2027. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but first, Matt, thank you for joining me. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thank you.
Well, great. Well, I wonder if you could tell me, start out a little bit by, I gave a brief intro there, but if you could just tell us a little bit more about MNCAR and its mission and how long you've been in business and that kind of thing.
Sure. MNCAR started out as a committee uh, of the Minneapolis Association of Realtors decades ago, probably in the 80s. Became our own organization and affiliate of the National Association of Realtors in about uh, I don't know, about 25 years ago. Um, and and has since we've kind of got two sides to the organization, the nonprofits, where members can choose to be involved with the National Association of Realtors or not be involved with the National Association of Realtors. The common element amongst all of those members, though, is the fact that they are licensed uh, agents and brokers at the state of Minnesota. And then we have had part of how it evolved and became its own committee and then its own organization has a lot to do with the data that that our members have used to provide landlords and owners with opportunities to lease and sell their properties. It started out as a book that was produced kind of on a quarterly basis, like half the size of a phone book or so, and it would get updated in office, industrial, retail, in different on different timelines. But so as soon as those were published and distributed, that information was already old. So then it started to save on paper. They produced CDs, and that those CDs were then distributed. Still old data as soon as it was created. Then MNCAR helped with some investors create an online version of that. We had a partner with that for many years, and that ended in 2017 when we partnered now with Moody's, Catalyst, and ReadyComps. And that is all live information. It is constantly being researched, and that data is studied and analyzed by other leaders in the industry to make sure that the information that is there is up to date and accurate for all of our members to use.
All right. And I understand you've been in this role now for 14 years. Is that
That's
right?
correct. Yes, that's correct.
And then recently, as I said, announced plans to retire next year. Tell me about that and how you came to that decision.
Well, it was, I've been noodling on it for a while, just some personal goals, and as well as I think that there's a lot of promise for the industry, but just as some changes might be coming up in technology and the implementation of AI in the industry, I thought maybe the new eyes on the organization would be advantageous to our members. And it's been an honor to work here, and serve the members of MNCAR. But I think part of that service is to recognize when when maybe my vision may not be conducive to how this industry is going to evolve over the next 10, 15 years. And I mean, will that happen in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10? I don't know. But that's just, I feel like there's probably somebody out there that is better positioned to take this further.
Well, you've served the organization well, and wonder if you could just tell me about what you'll be up to in the next 11 months before you hang it up. Is it just business as usual? Will you be grooming someone else to take over? How will that play out?
Well, there's we yes, business as usual, but also we have formed a search committee, and we are taking in applications. I have generated some pretty solid results thus far. We are going to be partnering with a search firm, not necessarily to conduct the search, but to help us vet some of the candidates. I do have some internal interest, and so for the best or for the most transparency and involvement of our members, and should members apply, would have that other set of eyes on things to prevent me from being too biased on what I would do. And I got to keep that part a secret, but um, there's some well qualified individuals that are looking towards us. But we are planning to keep the application process open through the end of August, and then begin vetting some of the candidates, narrowing that down, doing some interviews in September, October, hopefully getting an offer out to somebody um, that we can introduce to our membership come the real estate expo that we hold in November, and at least get an opportunity for them to meet the new person. But also, depending on who that person might uh, be able to allow them the process to be able to leave whatever role they have and do a responsible exit there. We have plans for a strategic planning retreat with our board and some significant stakeholders come February, March. And then my intent is at the end of our annual golf outing, wave goodbye. But I've also said that if it would be of any benefit to the new executive director for me to be around in an advisory role, I would be happy to do that. This obviously, you commit 15 years to an organization, you want to see it succeed in the long term, but sometimes you need to look to the past to know what we've tried, what we've done, what can improve, and let the new person run with their new ideas along with the board of directors as well.
Well, just to back up a little bit, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your career journey and how you got into this line of work. We remember you from your days with St. Paul BOMA.
Sure.
What attracted you to this line of work?
Well, I started out after college as an AmeriCorps National Service volunteer in Chicago for 2 years. Came back and worked for the state of Minnesota in the Office of National and Community Service, and overseeing all the AmeriCorps. That transitioned into some other roles at the Department of Education, Children, Families, and Learning at the time, and the that trans then I ended up over at the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce doing association work in public affairs and public policy, and then shifted into I was on the Planning Commission in St. Paul, and the Upper Landing development kind of came around, and as a member of the Planning Commission, I really got involved in what development work was all about, and then eventually ended up and working for Centex Development Company, and leaving the Planning Commission and all that. But it was and so I was project manager for the Upper Landing development, and that translated into I don't know, about 10 years or so of doing residential and commercial land acquisition and entitlement. 2008 came and it became time to go back to association work. That seemed to be where to go, and that's when I ended up at BOMA. Was there for a while, for 4 or 5 years, and then made it here to MNCAR. And that when I left BOMA, I came into MNCAR as kind of they were going through a period of transition, and they were looking to hire me. And that time I said, well, why don't you just hire me on as a consultant for a while, and we can test drive each other. And if we like what we see, perhaps I'll stick around. And I stuck around. And would I stay longer? I don't know. It's just 15 years is a long time. So has been for me as I've gone through my career, and my kids are grown, off doing their things, and so I've done my part there. My wife and I have done our part there, and she's great, got a great career, and it's just kind of timing for me is good.
All right. Well, we know that you have your finger on the pulse of the industry and a lot of great data and research there at MNCAR. I was wondering if you could briefly touch on just what you see as some of the challenges and opportunities in commercial real estate in the coming year. Any reflections on that?
In the coming year or years or
Years.
anything. Well, as we did see the news today that Target has called their people back downtown for 4 out of 5 days in the week, and I think that's going to be a trend for most employers coming up. There has been not only will the in-office work evolve, but I think hybrid work will evolve somehow as well. So, I mean, I think the most significant changes we'll see are these office buildings, particularly in the downtown, as they evolve, the space evolves. The you know the buildings themselves are probably going to have to get and increase their efficiencies to try and keep costs down for common fees and maintenance of the properties and energy, et cetera. But because what we do see is taxes going up, but not lease rates. So the building owners themselves are going to have to figure out how to make their properties operate a little more efficiently. So that's where I think the biggest changes will be. But retail, particularly in the suburban areas and first ring, they're doing pretty well. Industrials still moving forward pretty well with Minnesota's manufacturing and storage and those related fields. Medical obviously will continue to grow. So I'd say the industrial and retail and multifamily, those are all probably on a pretty good trajectory right now. But office, as we see some evolution in the buildings themselves, whether they come down or if they're suitable for residential, some of those conversions. Very obvious things to people who have been paying attention to what the market has been doing, but more importantly, and what I'd see a lot of young people coming in to the industry, and it's very promising. So I really think that although the data, will continue to improve, the consumers are going to get smarter and make those decisions on the properties with more background about building efficiencies, technology availability, high quality space, um, and traffic patterns, where their people work, and there's so much more information now to make a really good decision versus maybe an employee survey or something like that. They really can hone in on some specifics of the properties before they bring their people in.
Well, that's a great forward-looking analysis. How about looking back? You've been in the industry, as we said, for 25 plus years. You touched on this a little bit with some of the developments, the changes in technology, things of that nature. But what would you say have been some of the biggest changes you've seen in the industry from when you first started way back when?
Well, the amount of there have been some, women that have been in the industry that have been around for a long time that are very successful and very trustworthy brokers in this industry. But I think the number of young women that are heading into this field right now is so promising. It's really great to see. We have a course we run called Broker Basics, where people, as they're entering the industry, um, kind of, even though they have learned and have gotten their licenses and everything, we have courses that our industry veterans teach. And so it's an opportunity to learn. But my point is on that, we are seeing so many more young women enter this, and our classes are made up of sometimes more young women than young men. And so I think that's a uh, very promising for the industry. And, some of those women who have been around for a long time and maybe had a harder time of it because there were so few of them, they're starting to take on some leadership roles and in different brokerages and starting their own. And now I think that's promising to diversify the industry that way.
Well, great. Any plans for uh, your post MNCAR days?
I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet. My wife does a lot of traveling with work, so maybe sometime she'll let me come along. I'm open to what opportunities might be out there, but I'm involved with some organizations, and I might look to take on volunteer wise, take on some more responsibilities with those boards and provide my input there. Um, I may end up working in a hardware store, Brian. I have to edit this just a little bit. There we go. We're back.
Yeah.
Um,
All
how did
right.
you lose me?
You mentioned that you may end up working in a hardware store.
Yeah,
That's
there's I've also grown up my whole life around the trades and have and paid my way through college working in different environments. And I own a 100-year-old home, so I'm fixing things there and maybe
Hmm,
just sharing some
nice,
information and helping some people out in the neighborhood as they have to maintain their homes might be kind of fun too. Just have
nice.
to come up with ways to pay taxes and healthcare for a while.
Yeah, you and me both. Um, well, great. Well, any parting thoughts, Matt, before I let you go?
Well, no, I just, you know, I've always, finance and commerce has been such a great, partner. Well, not a specific partner of MNCAR, but the information and the reporting that you guys have done has helped me in my role over the last, 15, 20 years as knowing I can count on reading your daily to know what's going on and prompt me to make some phone calls and check in with some people. So thank you to Finance and Commerce for what you do.
Well, great. Thank you for that, and thank you, Matt. And I'm sure we'll talk again. But wish you
Well,
well.
yeah, thank you. I've got a year to run this or to wind this my part in this organization down, but I'm looking forward to having some fun and recognizing those members who have made this organization what it is. So thank you very
Great.
much, Brian.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good day.
Do the same.
Take
Bye.
care.